15 years ago, my wife and I were in a similar situation as you. I'm talking to the parents now, because that's when our first child got into college. We were fortunate. She was fortunate enough to have a scholarship. Wasn't here at MTSU, but I just remember how proud I was of my child. And then the second, something similar, and then the third, something similar. So I know your parents are extremely proud of you, and I am as well, because I know what it takes to get to where you're sitting. I know. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. The Honors College and its staff have always been very, very good to me. My true home was the Department of Physics and Astronomy, but the Honors College has proven to me over and over to be like a second home, where in addition to teaching astronomy to the Buchanan Fellows, I was regularly invited to participate in a variety of lecture series as well as open houses. I was a part of the Buchanan program since it started back in the fall of 2007. With 20 students per class, I have had contact with 320 amazing students. As a point of comparison, 2 semesters of non-Buchanan astronomy, I would have taught 370, which would be 50 more. So small classes, huge classes. It was beautiful. My wife, red hair, brown dress, Marinelle, she joined in the fun when we would invite each class over to our house for a swim party and a barbecue at the beginning of the semester. In the middle of the semester, we'd have a dinner theater where we watched Galaxy Quest, a comedy that is also described by J.J. Abrams as the greatest Star Trek movie ever made. And in part because I used much from that film in my classes, in my lectures, because there's a lot of really interesting science in some of these movies. I had to give you closure, so you had to come to the whole movie. And then there's the end of semester party where we played Hallmark Christmas movie bingo. It's a thing. Look it up. It really is. I always chose a woman in a red dress and someone holding a cup of hot cocoa with 2 hands. When you look it up, it'll all make sense. What I want to share with you today are 3 of the things I have noticed in my astronomy classes that lead to a more satisfying college experience for the students in the Buchanan program. You just sort of pick up on stuff when you listen to people talk and how they relate and things they will tell you. And so there's 3 things that stand out in my mind. Now, I'm not saying that everybody in this room or all the students that you're absolutely hopeless in these 3 areas. I'm not saying that at all. In fact, you're probably going to do quite well. But what as much as these 3 things may seem obvious, what I'm really going for is to encourage you to have an attitude that pursues these things in a proactive way, and not just be passive about learning, not just to be passive. The first one is actively pursue community. Now, it sounds like I'm just repeating what you've already heard before, but that's the way it goes, I suppose. But after my 3 children had grown up, and the youngest was a freshman, I sensed the need to be more proactive in my relationship with my wife. My wife and I had spent roughly 20 years as a couple raising our children and helping to prepare them for college. Like most parents, we made some concessions in our relationship in order to benefit our children. When we were a few months away from being empty nesters, we began to anticipate what life without children in the house could feel like. We both felt that as sad as it was to watch our children leave the nest, we also had a golden opportunity to begin a second courtship. I still remember that one of the first things we did was purchase a pair of matching bicycles. We turned down some bikes, even though they were awesome, because we couldn't get 2 of the same color. They had to match. And we began to make riding as a couple an important part of our physical conditioning, as well as an activity that defined us as a couple. Another change we made was we would share a cup of coffee on the back porch every Saturday and Sunday morning while one of us read an interesting book to the other. Now that I'm retired, we actually do this every morning. And that is a beautiful thing, to just talk about something new and interesting by reading a book together. And that's what we do. I'm just talking about intentionality in a relationship. What propelled us was the realization that the routine that served us so faithfully for years with the children was ill-suited for the same couple without the children present. It boiled down to what we thought was best for our relationship more than what we felt was right. Once we were convinced of what we wanted to do as a couple, our feelings quickly followed. From past experiences, we all know that terrific friendships can form and develop organically. They add a little bit of intentionality, scheduling time to be together, studying together, planning adventures together, being available to help others during times of stress. All a part of what it means to be in a thriving community that can stand the test of time. Number 2, actively learn how your brain works, okay? Maybe this is subtle, but I hope not. Why is it that I can remember the details of meeting Santa Claus in my preschool 63 years ago, but I can't remember a person's name 5 minutes after being introduced to them? Why is that? Well, long-term memories, as it turns out, are a result of actual physical changes to your brain's neural wiring. Something physically changes when it becomes a long-term memory. Your brain isn't the same anymore. In fact, it becomes something that's hard to forget. Okay? Learning how to learn is the same as learning how to train your brain to transform volatile short-term memories associated with the first reading of a book or sitting through a lecture into long-term memories that you can refer to later on. Consider an athletic analogy. You're training to run a 5-mile race with your friends. It is going to be a bit more challenging than any athletic event you have participated in before. Is it as simple as buying expensive equipment a few weeks in advance, committing to the daily discipline of running around the block until you're exhausted or in severe pain, then taking 4 ibuprofens and crossing your fingers on race day, holding on to the hope that maybe today you will get lucky and it will be fine? I've seen a lot of students treat their education similarly. Last minute studying, maybe the test will be easy this time. Cramming, that's not learning, okay? That's not learning, but I'm sure you've gotten away with it to some degree because I did. So what if that experience proves to be a bit of a disaster? Is the only takeaway that you're lacking in natural ability or doomed to a life of mediocrity? Students get on themselves. I did badly in the class. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I'm the only one who can't do this. Anyway, clearly it is possible that all the frustrations and injuries in this athletic scenario would be due to poor training and a misunderstanding of how to properly condition your body to run 5 miles safely and comfortably. If you regard your 4 years at MTSU as the type of educational foot race, then I can wholeheartedly recommend a training manual for you that will teach you to healthfully train yourself to become a master learner. It's entitled Teach Yourself How to Learn by Sandra Yancey McGuire. It's available for free in PDF form in the MTSU library. Here's a companion volume for instructors like myself. Teach your students how to learn. I love this book. A quick lesson from this book that serves as an example of what you're in for is the suggestion that preparing for a test on a particular topic is identical to preparing to give a detailed presentation on that same topic to your entire class. This is contrary to what I've discovered by talking to my students is common sense. They think studying for tests is always easier than preparing a talk. They are the same thing. When you get through there, you will be amazed at what you know on test day, not remember what you know on test day. Anyway, be mindful that ultimately your educational goal as a Buchanan Fellow is to be transformed from a mere knowledge consumer, which I would describe as someone who's limited to typing questions into Google search windows or an AI chat window, into a knowledge producer who writes content that other people will want to study. You should consider studying abroad and summer research projects as examples of 2 things that are above and beyond simple coursework that have the potential to aid you in this transformation. Thirdly and finally, actively work up a schedule and stick to it. I'm a fan of Harry Potter books. I love them so much that I've gone through all the books 7 times since they were first published. The vehicle I used for my daily commute to MTSU is a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. That was my ride. It was I had a personalized license plate that read Sirius, as in Sirius Black. I chose this because Sirius Black was the owner of the flying motorcycle that Hagrid used to deliver infant Harry to the Dursleys. There's a Harry Potter theme park in Orlando, Florida, as well as in London, England. Both have mock-ups of Sirius's motorcycle. I have sat astride both of these motorcycles with my wife and had my picture taken, which is proof that I may have taken my fandom a little bit too far. I use quite a bit of popular culture in my astronomy lectures to help students see real-world importance of science and the scientific method in general, and astronomy in particular. A favorite example of mine that I use as soon as the class, which would be you guys if you were in my class, that I use as soon as my class becomes familiar with the structure of the solar system and how the night sky we see from Tennessee changes as the Earth revolves around the sun over the course of a year, is that there are two observations made by Harry from the astronomy tower during his fifth-year exams that are actually physically impossible. It can't be done. But nonetheless, it's part of the story. One being that the constellation Orion is visible in June. It's not. It's in January and February. And the other is that Venus is visible at midnight, which is, again, physically impossible. Only Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn are visible at midnight. But to be able to have my students see that and to tie in with popular culture. Having said all that, no one here will be surprised if I sneak in another Harry Potter reference into this talk. The reference I want to share with you now is a portion of a conversation that Dumbledore had with Harry about the amount of time Harry had been spending staring into a magic mirror called the Mirror of Erised, when he should have been sleeping. Erised is desire spelled backwards, like the way a mirror reverses an image. Okay? The inscription on the mirror says, "I show not your face, but your heart's desire." And that too is written backwards like a mirror. Dumbledore says to Harry, "This mirror gives us neither knowledge nor truth. Men have wasted away in front of it, entranced by what they have seen, or been driven mad, not knowing if what it shows is real or even possible." There is a lot one could unpack from this dialogue alone, but I will concentrate on what it says about my third and final point. The problem isn't that the Mirror of Erised even existed, or that it possessed some sort of evil power. It didn't. The problem was that it gives neither knowledge nor truth, and as a student at Hogwarts, pursuing knowledge and truth should have been one of his highest priorities. The message I think Dumbledore is giving Harry is that there are only 24 hours in a day, a limited number of days in an academic year, and only 7 academic years to become a fully trained wizard. If Harry was going to benefit from the opportunity of studying at Hogwarts, he will need to budget his time accordingly. If Harry was going to fully benefit, analogously for Buchanan's, 4 years sound like a long time, and it goes by more quickly than you think, and I have 2 testimonies to that effect already. Generally, college will be more challenging than high school, and the Buchanan program is intended to be more challenging than most MTSU degree programs. Try to set goals for what you want your life to look like at the end of your first semester, at the end of each year. And by the time you graduate, make a plan to reach those goals and create a calendar. Plan on committing at least one of your summers to study abroad or to do research in a subject that interests you. Talk to upperclassmen and learn from their successes and failures. Keep a weekly schedule that includes classes, time for homework, meals, sleep, exercise, hanging out with friends, recreational downtime, and stick to it. Thank you very much.
That will share in the program. So I wanted this. You probably have copies of this. You have this.
I don't have enough.
Okay. Well, there's one of the stories that we did on you a couple of years back. And
motorcycles in this magazine.
Yes, it is.
And the license plates in it.
And we got to this a little late, but we decided we would try to email a couple of your graduates to see if they had anything to say to you, and a few of them responded. So we put them in a little book for you to keep us a momentum.
I have not opened this.
You have not?
But I can tell you right now, this would be one of my most precious keepsakes. This is amazing.
Good.
You guys are amazing.
Thanks.